I started stealing at 9, and I started skipping school at 11 years old, and then I started drinking at 12, and then using marijuana at 13, and I was so out of control that my mom thought it would be best if she could keep an eye on me. And so she took me to work with her, and there I learned how to make money and stripping.
Carol Rogers' father went to prison when she was a toddler. Her mother spent her time working at nightclubs.
I was around a bunch of burlesque dancers, and they were all prostitutes and strippers, and they just taught me how to sell my body. I was taught how to, drink and feel good and loosen up, and we took pills at first, and I drank a lot, of course, because I was real shy back then. By the time I was 15, I was doing it on my own and selling, my body for a lot of money.
Carol's destructive behavior was rooted in the sexual abuse she suffered at the hands of her stepfather. It started when she was only 5.
I just hated myself. I was very angry from all the stuff that happened to me as a child. I was always trying to hurt myself. I was ashamed of myself. I cut my wrists. That's the way I was releasing some of the pain, was just cutting my wrist and crying and just wanting people to love me, and I could not get that love from anybody. I married at the age of 21, and we fought all the way to the to the justice of the peace. He was verbally abusive, and I was strung out on amphetamines.
2 years later, Carol separated from her husband. In the years to follow, she drifted from one man to the next. Still working as a stripper and prostitute, she also started manufacturing drugs with her new boyfriend. And she continued cutting.
I had sores all over me from head to toe, just literally inflicting pain on myself because of all the emptiness that I felt on the inside.
At the time, Carol had 4 children. Because of her drug addiction, she sent her 4 children away to live with relatives.
In my innermost being, I really wanted to be a good mother because of all the abuse that I experienced as a child. I wanted to be that mother, but I did not know how. I really hated what I did to my children, and just not being there for them and just leaving them behind. And I really believe that that was a breaking point.
After years of run-ins with the cops for prostitution and drugs, Carol finally went to prison for a DWI. In prison, one of her cellmates invited her to a church service.
This girl said, "Hey, you want to come to this service?" She asked me what I needed prayer for, and I asked her to pray for me, that I didn't want to be a stripper anymore, and I just wanted a relationship with my children. I knew that I needed so much forgiveness, and she prayed for me, and literally whenever she was just praying for me, I felt something on the inside change. My heart was literally just could feel something, just like God supernaturally softening up my heart. I started reading the Word of God, and I got on my bunk and I said, "God, if you are real, I will serve you for the rest of my life." I had to have that confirming word, and from that day on, He just swept me off my feet like I was a princess. And I'll never forget that day, just Him touching me. I mean, day after day for a whole year in prison, He made me feel like I was His princess. I got out of prison. I stayed there a year flat, and as soon as I got out of prison, I got in church. Only God could feel that emptiness that I was trying to feel through men, through drugs, through alcohol. It didn't work. And the emptiness, only God could fill that void.
In 2000, Carol married again, this time one of the pastors from her church. She is reunited with all of her children. Today, Carol is a chaplain at a county jail.
The girls in prison said, "Oh, Carol, you'll be back. You'll be back preaching to all these prisoners." And I said, "I am not coming back here. You know, there's no way I'm coming back." And years later, after being in church, I knew that after I was off parole that I could go and serve in prison ministry. It's just such a blessing to go back in and talk to the prostitutes, the drug addicts, the women that have lost their children, and where they think that there is no hope. And when I go in there, I give them the hope of Christ. You know, if He can do it for me, I know He can do it for them.